Today I'm going to show you how to make a really delicious cake, really simple one that you can whip up. I was reminded of the recipe in the last several days. If you're someone that has videos on YouTube, you'll understand this. A video that you did a long time ago will all of a sudden have kind of a resurgence. So I've had one that's been doing that kind of. A lot of people have been finding and commenting on a video I did, I guess maybe over a year ago, but at least a year ago. And the name of it was fruit cocktail cake. I think I might have named it something like one of my favorite desserts to take to like potlucks and things like that. I can't remember what the actual name of the video was, but the cake that I share in it was fruit cocktail cake. And that was a recipe that my mother-in-law, Miss Cindy, shared with me many years ago. She said that people in her family had made it for a long time. It's a really common recipe as far as in this area in Western North Carolina. You'll often see on potluck tables, maybe at church, at decoration day, things like that. Or anywhere you're eating, gathering with people. But for whatever reason, folks have been finding it and commenting on it. So that reminded me there's another cake recipe like that, very similar to that one, but slightly different. And I learned how to make it actually from my Matt's stepmother. I guess she's my mother-in-law too. I'm lucky I've got two, and they're really great ones, both of them. So Janet, she taught me how to make this cake a long time ago. I really love it. I've got my little thing right here. This is where she wrote it out many years ago. We were sitting at Papa Tony and her kitchen table, me and her talking about recipes, and she wrote this down for me because she had served the cake and it was so good. We just loved it. So I still have her little handwritten recipe. Now she found out about the recipe. I don't know who actually gave it to her, but it was a cake that was made, if you've ever ate at a Duff's, D-U-F-S restaurant. So the name of it was Duff's Hurricane Cake, a hurricane cake. It is so good and so easy to whip up. It's also one that's perfect if you're in a hurry and needing to go to a potluck, or maybe church, you're having homecoming or decoration day at church or something like that. Perfect, easy, quick one to take with you. And it travels well too, because it bakes in a 13x9 pan, and there's not a lot of things to worry about sliding around or anything like that. So the only Duff's restaurant I remember, I don't remember the cake at all, but there used to be one in Gainesville, Georgia, and when Pap and Granny would sometimes have to go to the doctor, in the years when Pap was having heart trouble, that's where his doctors were at. So we went to Gainesville if we were going to the doctor, if anybody was. Actually, that trend continued. That's where my doctor was at when I had Corey and Katie. Corey and Katie were born in Gainesville, Georgia. Anyway, I can remember Granny and Pap loved to eat there. And the biggest thing I remember was that they had like a soft serve ice cream thing that you could go up and get your own ice cream. That's what I liked. I liked the best. I wasn't worrying about the cake. I was worrying about the ice cream. But I'm going to tell you now what you need to make this cake. Really super simple. So 1 1/2 cups sugar, 2 cups of plain flour. That's what Janet has wrote down. We call that's all-purpose flour. We all say plain flour. So 2 cups of all-purpose flour. 2 teaspoons of soda, baking soda. If that was Granny, she would say sody. You need 2 teaspoons of sody. A dash of salt. 2 eggs. 2 cans of canned peaches with the juice. You want the juice. Now, if you have your home canned ones, that would be fantastic. I've just got some store canned peaches, and these are 15 ounces, so I've got 2 cans of them. 1/2 cup packed brown sugar, and I've used light and dark, both work fine. And then 1 cup of chopped walnuts. Now Nana put that in her cake, but I don't put it in there today. I have in the past, but because Austin, my son-in-law, he can't eat nuts, so I don't do that. So that's optional. It's still really good without it. So then I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what's in that's the cake part. And then what's going to be the icing. The icing's really simple too. It's 3/4 cup of sugar, 3/4 cup sugar, 1 stick of, the original recipe said margarine, but I've always used butter. Butter works just fine. 1/2 cup of evaporated milk, and 1 cup of flaked coconut. So the first thing, and we're going to bake it at 325, so I've already got my oven on. And it takes, Nana said 40 minutes. In my oven, it's more like about 50 minutes. So it's one of those things you'll just kind of have to pay attention to in your oven till you know how long it takes the first time you make it if you've never made it before. And I have I'm using a glass 9x13 pan over here, and you grease it lightly with whatever you prefer. If you prefer shortening, lard, spray, coconut oil, whatever you prefer. And the type of pan you use sometimes, you know, makes a difference in the amount of time it takes as well. So that may be why mine's taking a little bit longer. So first we're going to sift together the first ingredients that I went over. So there's that plain flour. I've got my soda and my salt in there. And my sugar. Stack my stuff. You could use your whatever sifter you prefer. I have a sifter, like one that you kind of, I think I have one you turn and one you squeeze, but I just think this is easier, so I do it this way most of the time. It's funny how you hold on to those things. I still have the sifters, I just don't ever use them. I don't know why I have them. I mostly just grab this and pat away until it's all the stuff is sifted together. I'm making a mess. Hopefully you won't make as big a mess as I do. I can't cook unless I make a mess though. And I'm not using white sugar, I'm using a coarser sugar. So I'm just going to look around, make sure all my flour is out, and it is, and I'm just going to have to dump the rest of it. That was all the coarse pieces. But you can use white sugar, it's fine. This is just sugar that's not been refined, so it's a little bit coarser. Some pieces of it are. I'm just going to give it a stir to stir that last bit of sugar in. And I'm going to swap bowls. So I'm going to get this bowl and I'm going to add my eggs. Get my whisk back, and if you're looking for this whisk, a lot of people ask me about it. It's kind of a strange shape. It's my favorite whisk because it gets into the corners. It's a Rada whisk. I'll put the link in the description below. I'm just going to beat the eggs a little bit, and then I'm going to pour the peaches in. And you could cut these peaches up if you wanted to, but I don't. Usually by the time you're mixing them, because peaches are soft, they kind of come apart a little bit anyway. So I've never like chopped them up or anything like that. And if you use a mixer, they especially would, I'm sure, kind of come into pieces, but because they're so soft. You can, I do this with a mixer sometimes. It's because it's so soupy. If you're not careful, even now I'm starting to splatter. It will splatter. Another thing you could do, get my kitchen shears. You could go through and cut your peaches. I just thought of that. It's funny how all these years I've never thought of that, but thinking if you wanted them littler, what would you do? Well, you could do this, and of course you could pour them out and chop them up by hand or put them in a food processor or something like that, but I wouldn't go to that much trouble. Okay, I think that's fine. Now, I'm going to add all of the dry mixture and mix it up. To my spatula. Okay, I've got it all mixed up. I'm going to get my pan and just pour it in. Now on the top, if you were going to use the nuts, this is where you would put them, and also with the brown sugar, you'd mix them together and then put them just sprinkle it on top. But since I'm just using the brown sugar, I'm just going to put it right on top. And this is one of those cakes that you want to put the icing on it while it's still hot, right when it comes out of the oven. So just before it's finished, we'll whip up the icing, which is basically just to cook it a little bit on top of the stove. Okay, and we'll put this in the oven, and once it's baked, I'll show you how to put the icing on, and then we'll eat it. Okay, the cake's about to come out of the oven, so we're ready to whip up our icing. I'm going to put in our, better turn the stove on too, put in our butter, our sugar, and the evaporated milk. We're going to let that come to a boil, and we're going to boil it about 2 minutes. Okay, it's been boiling for 2 minutes. I'm going to turn the heat off, and I'm going to put in the coconut, give it a good stir, and we'll be ready to put it on the cake. You should definitely let all that goodness soak down into the cake, but I'm not going to. I can't wait. I'm not good about delayed gratification when I make something. I just can't wait to actually taste it. So I'm going to get me out a little square here. I don't flop it out onto the floor. Look at that. You can see the peaches underneath there. See how soft and moist it is. So good. Now, if you don't want the big peaches, like you can still see that big peach, it's hot. You could certainly, if you use your mixer, like I do that sometimes, I just didn't today, but if you do, it will kind of chop them up because they're soft, and you could certainly puree them or chop them, rough chop them with a knife, put them in your food processor, whatever, if that bothers you. It don't bother me. I'm gonna get a piece of the cake. It's amazing how good it is to be so easy. Such a simple cake to put together. Really good. Because it has so much moisture in it, with all the peaches, the juiciness and the juice, it's a cake that really stays moist. So if you, around my house, this doesn't last very long. But if it did last, more than 3 or 4 days, you could put it in the refrigerator. I wonder if you could even freeze it. If you know that, if you froze something like this before, please leave a comment and tell us how it turned out. But definitely you put it in the refrigerator for a few days. As I said, I usually leave mine on the counter, and in 2 to 3 days it's gone. We eat it up. It's gone. Sometimes I'll send some with Matt to work, any kind of thing I make, not just this, and I know that it'll get eat there for sure. Janet did have one little tip about the icing. If you wanted to, you could make a double recipe of it. So if you wanted a really thick icing on top of it, this one kind of, with just the one like I did today, it kind of, you can see the coconut, but then the rest of it kind of, especially if you're willing to wait, unlike me, it just kind of seeps down into it. So it doesn't have per se like an icing or frosting that you typically think of with cakes. It's not thick. But if you do that double batch, then it makes it thicker because of the coconut. So I hope you enjoyed seeing how to make Duff's hurricane cake. I just think of it as Nana's cake, since Janet's the one that taught me how to make it so many years ago. It is, as I was saying at the beginning, very similar to the fruit cocktail cake, and both are really good. And both of them are so easy to whip up that does make it the perfect dessert when you think about summertime, going to potlucks or barbecues or any kind of church functions like the decoration days and homecomings, family reunions, all those kind of things. It's really the perfect dessert to take to places like that. If you have another variation of like the fruit cocktail or this one, how they're kind of very similar, please leave a comment and tell us about it. We'd love to hear it. And as always, I hope you drop back by to help me celebrate Appalachia. And for me, the Foodways are a lot of things that have been handed down through my family and Matt's family. Okay. Oh, no idea what I even said, but
it was good, Mama. It was a good thumbnail might be when you were pouring the icing.
okay.
Someone wants to know best bread machine loaf recipe with tomato and eggs. Can milk be substituted with water? Do you put milk in the tomato and eggs?
No. And I don't put it in the bread either. I put water. Or do they mean can you use milk instead of water?
Oh, can milk be substituted with water?
Well, I've never tried that. It seems like it would work.
I'm just going to say that.
We need to take Granny a piece. There's be plenty of it left for tomorrow night. We could take it to church, or if I don't get to go, y'all could take it, but or send it to the men.
To the garbage disposal?
And take, yeah, to the garbage disposal. So you could send some of it to Austin.
Yeah,
take some of it home.
I've been stuffy. Austin has too. We did our sinus rinses at 9:30 last night, and I was laying in the bed trying not to snot on my pillow.
I do mine in the morning.
I'd rather do it in
Just because I know I won't get it done. It was really a good cake.
I know. It is really good.
Super sweet, but that's what makes it good.
It is.
Okay.
Next on our agendas at cookbooks.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
We're going to the post office.
Are we going to the post office?
Or do you need to?
I mean, yeah, we have a ton of books.
I just mean at this point we'll probably still have time to package some and then go.
I'm just making a mess. I made a mess all over that. Ooh, about to break on the floor, barely caught it.
You don't have to make a mess, Mama. It's okay.
I don't know, what do you think about, should we get a thumbnail?
We can. I think a good thumbnail would just be of you pouring the icing over it. Because I feel like I got sneeze sometimes to do it on the cake. Because, I mean, it'd be a good picture of it on it, but then you just can't really tell much about it. I don't know. I just think the icing might be kind of cool going on it, but I'll take another picture if you want.
I mean, another picture, the only other thing I think would be is like if you cut out, you know, put a piece in a plate and you could see the peaches.
Oh, that's true.
But
yeah, if you want to, we can.
let's wait and see if you or Katie want to eat a piece in a little bit.
Okay. I'm having a hard time resisting it now. If you really love me, Mom, you let me chase wizards all day. You got me being a jut.